Hey, 6th grade, it's Miss Ragland, and this week we are going to work on our abstract art. Hopefully you guys have already had time to review the lesson and watch the video about Yayoi Kusama, and we are going to create an artwork inspired by her. So, you should have a copy of this worksheet as well as the link to the dice rolling. If you have your own dice at home, that's cool too. For this project, you're going to definitely need a pencil to start with, and then you're going to need Sharpie. If you have different sizes, that's great. And then, if you have your watercolor palette at home, you're going to use that. If not, you can use whatever you have to add color. But first, we're just going to start with adding some designs. So, you want to roll your dice and see which border you get first. And I'm just going to pick one randomly. Let's do the zigzags and start with that. The border is going to go all the way around the edge of the paper. Well, some of them can be on two sides, or you can do it however you want to. Really, these are just to inspire you and help you with abstract designs without having to think too much about it. So once you get that done, you can start adding shapes. As you roll for the shapes, I would suggest that you pick one or two to make larger, to be more of a focal point or an emphasis. So, let's see. I'm going to do these. I'm going to do a couple of these. Then after you get a couple of large ones, you can start filling in with smaller ones. And I would say you definitely want to repeat some of those shapes if you can, because that'll just make it more balanced in composition. So let's do this weird little fork thingy. And let's do one of these weird eyeballs. And let's see here. Let's do some of these faces. Those look a little different, but that's okay. So, the exercise says to do 2 from each column, so that's 8 shapes altogether. But once you get that many shapes in there, you can put as many as you want, and you can pick whichever ones you want to pick, just to fill in some of those empty spaces. Whichever ones make your heart happy. Remember, abstract art is all about the process, so I like to rotate my paper and just kind of see what happens as I'm going. I'm just going to repeat that little leaf shape. So, once you're happy with how many things you have and the amount of space, like I may put a few more little things in there, but for now, what you're going to do is you're going to start outlining with Sharpie, and I would suggest picking some of the bigger things to outline with the larger size Sharpie if you have one. And then do some of the fine Sharpie too. Okay, so to save time, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit about how to do the watercolors, and then I'll show you my finished example. So, if you have your watercolor palette at home, what you want to do is probably start with the background. I think that's the best plan, and that's what we've done. I would choose a lighter color, so that way you can just kind of smush it all on there, and if you get inside the lines, that's okay. Now with watercolors, what you want to do is mix it up really well, and then put it on there, and then to make it lighter, you just start spreading that color out with water. So I may not have to dip my brush back in the paint, excuse me, for a few minutes, because I can just keep spreading it out with that water. You see how I'm just kind of going over everything in the background? That way I can more easily fill the space. Now, a couple of suggestions with watercolors. Make sure that you don't go over and over the same spot because you'll get a hole in your paper. You can layer your watercolors, but you have to let the layers dry in between. And they usually only take a few minutes. So you don't have to do a solid color background. You can do different colors. And I will attach some files for you guys of some of our students' work so you can look at how they've done it. So once you get your background done, you can start filling in your little spaces. And maybe you want to think about a color scheme, and maybe not. It's like I said, abstract is all about the process. So just start putting color on there and see what happens. We just want to start filling in all the little areas. If it's wet, it may bleed like that, but that's okay. Sometimes that looks cool. So let me show you guys the one that I've been working on. It's not quite finished, but this one I started yesterday, and I'm kind of feeling a fall vibe with this one, so I chose to stick with some of the fall colors like oranges and browns, and it even has pumpkins and leaves and things. So we started out with our Sharpie. We went over it with watercolor, and what we may do is go back in with some Sharpie again and add some more smaller details, or we may even use colored pencils to go back in and to add more lines and more details, because the more the better, right? So you guys just play around with your abstract art. I hope you have a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what you've made. Happy creating. Bye.